This week on Not Another Movie Podcast, the DCEU explodes with movie news.
Yes, and Rufio's trying to kickstart his way back to Neverland.
And love him or hate him, a Tom Brady film may be in the works. Hello and welcome back to episode 3 of Not Another Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And again, a massive thank you to everyone who's listened in again. Our numbers were just as good or even better than the week before, so thank you for staying with the show.
I feel very Trumpy when we talk about numbers. We have the best numbers, the biggest numbers that you've ever seen.
Well, you're always worried going into that second week. It's like when a TV show has a lot of hype and the numbers are huge the first week, and then they look at the numbers the second week and we're like, oh shit, no one really likes the show. But touch wood, everyone is enjoying this film.
I always do.
All right, well, this week, as we said in the intro, it has been a massive week for the DCEU. We'll start off with the appointment of Matt Reeves as the director of the Ben Affleck The Batman. He is mostly well known for the sequels in the Planet of the Apes series. He directed a great film called Cloverfield and a little known film called Let Me In, which was also very good too.
Yeah, I never saw the American version, but I heard it was quite good.
So the two sequels for the Ape series is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and this year's War of the Planet of the Apes. He was on the short list that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago that we're both pretty excited about, so we said any name that basically came off that list was going to be a winner, and I'm really happy with the choice that they made.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's Ape sequels. I know you weren't a hugest... You were the hugest fan of the second one?
I adore the second one.
Oh, fantastic. I think they're both beautifully made films. Just because it's awesome seeing apes running around with guns and doing crazy things, but the storytelling in them is solid as, and that's what these DCU EU films need, is just good storytelling, and I think Reeves can bring it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, not only do you get to see this spectacle that is, you know, humans fighting apes, and the one scene that still gets me from the last film is one of the apes holding 2 machine guns while riding a horse. Nothing gets better than that, okay? If you can get Batman with 2 machine guns on a horse, I'm there.
I'd rather see Batman versus the apes. That would be a film.
That would be really cool. And as I said, it's not only with the apes. We saw it with Cloverfield. He kind of created a franchise or a genre per se of a monster film being seen by, you know, just the state-of-the-art technology that was around in those days. So we've seen him tackle apes, we've seen him tackle kaijus. I think the Let Me In had vampires, so now we're going to get to see him play in a comic book world. So I'm really excited about that.
He also was a writer on that, I don't know if you remember that show Felicity.
Oh, yes, I remember. I wasn't a fan of it.
You're taking the posters down off the wall as we speak. Maybe he's got something there to bring in. I'd love to see some teenage drama in my next Batman. Come on, bring it on.
Did you watch that and the Gilmore Girls back to back?
All right, let's not joke about the Gilmore Girls because that's actually a good show. All right.
Yeah, but when we're talking about comic book films and all these action films, you don't expect one of these guys to be such a fan of the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, well, that's just, we're a broad church here. It's not another movie podcast. We take all comers.
Yeah, well, I will agree with you there. The other big news to come out this week, and again, the conspiracy, all the people... It's like a secret society all trying to bring down the DCEU. Well, this
who's working the hardest at doing that?
Who?
The writers and the producers of the DCEU. And they're doing a damn good job.
They are doing a great job of it. This week again, another crazy rumor, which doesn't actually sound that crazy when you start putting all the pieces together, is Ben Affleck seriously wants to get out of his Batman contract. Now, whether that happens or not, and when it happens, is a massive story. Does it happen after the Justice League film? Will it happen after the Batman film? Who knows? But just to quote the article, it says, citing 3 different sources, and adding to the rumor himself, Ben Affleck has been really unhappy with what is happening at the Warner Brothers per se, especially after his last flop, and he doesn't want to do this anymore. He's trying really hard to get out of the contract that he's in, whether he can or not, because I think they usually sign on each character now for like 6 movies at a time. So
Yeah.
I don't see him getting out of it, but he is a big part of the Warner Brothers stable, so they might just let him do anything he wants.
I can imagine just at the end of Justice League, after the whole, the bad guy's been defeated, they're all standing around. Suddenly, Batman, in a badly dubbed voiceover, says, "And now I need to return to my home planet." And he just, like, bad CG takes him out of the thing. And that's the last we'll see of Batfleck in the DCEU.
Look, when Ben Affleck was announced, my initial reaction was, yes, that's a great choice. But my second reaction was, why would he want to do this now? Like, he's just come off the back of Argo. His batting average was 100%. He was knocking it out of the park on screen and behind the camera. And I'm like, why would he want to do a massive franchise like this, commit to, 6 to 10 films, when he's just blowing up as a serious contender now? So, all of this doesn't surprise me. He's jumped out of the director's chair.
2 words to why he wanted to do Batman. Daredevil.
Yeah, but, after an Academy Award winning film, do you really need to redeem yourself from a really bad movie to start with by going into, well, nearly just as bad film in Batman v Superman?
I'm sure he didn't know it was going to be that bad at the time. But I don't know. Ben strikes me as a passionate man, and I think that would be an itch that he was willing to scratch. Plus, he's down with comics, and if somebody offers you the role to play one of the most iconic comic book characters, and you like it, then I'd jump at it.
Yeah, but he was only just being started to get taken serious again. So, it was a bit of a joke when he started doing all those stupid rom-coms and everything else. And then, he was redeeming himself, and he was, putting his heart and soul out on the screen, and everything was going well for him. And then he stepped into this universe, was just like, it's great that he's in there, but it's kind of a weird choice.
I think if the Batfleck film was the first film of the DCEU, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he was envisioning.
Yeah.
But it just comes with too much baggage now. And in all sincerity, I'd be happy if he left, and that was the precursor to the closing down of this universe, so they could reboot in like 2020.
Yeah.
Just start fresh. Ben, if you're listening, go for it. Make it happen. It's going to be hard. It'll be a tough breakup, but I think we'll all recover and be the better for it.
And this piece of news, like, I actually tagged you in the Facebook post because I was so fucking excited when I read it. And
I heard you scream in orgasm from here.
It wasn't far off. It was like, I just felt something in my loins. That's how excited I was when I read this.
Was it Mel's hand?
Well, in past episodes, I've gushed about Mel Gibson and his return to form. And then all of a sudden, I'm scrolling down Facebook, breaking news: Mel Gibson in talks to direct the Suicide Squad sequel.
It does seem like fake news that you would have written to just on a whim at 3 a.m. in the morning after you're drunk, and you're like, oh, I would love this to happen. So because it's perfect for you.
But this has actually been confirmed now by the man himself. He was at a screening for Hacksaw Ridge the night of the news was broken, and he said yes, he's in first initial talks with Warner Brothers to direct a Suicide Squad film. Can you believe Mad Max directing the Suicide Squad?
Well, let's turn this around a little bit. And like the Affleck question before, why would Mel want to do this now that he's finally starting to be taken seriously?
I agree. It's got the same parallels as the story we just spoke about. But who gives a shit? It's fucking Mel Gibson. It's Braveheart. It's Hacksaw Ridge. It's as I said, it seems like such a weird choice, and especially when he was out promoting Hacksaw Ridge, I remember reading an article, him slamming comic book films and how bad they were and how much he hated Batman v Superman. So it's quite a surprise that he wants to jump into this world, this sandbox that is...
Particularly Suicide Squad, which is not a tone that I thought that he would be interested in.
Can you imagine if he brought the level of violence that he's brought to his previous films into the Suicide Squad?
He's got Passion of the Christ. He's got Will Smith's character being whipped. Oh, gosh.
If he can bring that torture porn element that was Passion of the Christ into Suicide Squad, it'd be perfect.
It'd be perfect for the audience. It would make up for the previous film. They're like, yeah, hit him again.
But yeah, it'd be amazing to see
I
how he directs these characters and how he puts them into a story if he does, get the job.
again a fantastic storyteller. What I was reading is that they're in preliminary talks, as we know, but apparently the studio's like, please do this here. So I
Yeah,
think Mel's just like, oh, add another zero to that, just
yeah.
one more zero. Let's see how we go.
Because you would think that there was no chance he would do anything if the script wasn't right. So, you know, they get Matt Reeves. They could possibly get Mel Gibson. That's a massive turn in direction for this universe. So fingers
Well,
crossed. As I said, I've never been more excited for a possible rumor than this one.
look, for your sake, I hope it works out.
So do I. Yeah, so do I. As I said, I'm still gushing over it. It's just like one of those things that it's so unbelievable that it might actually happen. It's insane.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, on to TV news. We both love and adore the TV show Stranger Things. They're out doing the promo work for season 2, which is coming up in the next couple months. And
October.
yeah, oh,
It's
is it
Halloween.
that
They're
far
April
away?
doing it. Yeah,
Oh fuck! The way they were promoting it, I thought it was next month or the month after.
I know. That's what I wish, but no, it's October.
All right. Well, the producers are out there and the directors are out there saying that they've pretty much got a 4 to 5 season story arc that they want to tell, which is good because I like the fact that they're already thinking ahead and they've already got an ending of where this might
Yes,
end up.
that's the most important thing.
And it's crazy because especially when you got child actors, especially cute ones, they gonna start going through that ugly stage of puberty. So
I think we might be projecting our own adolescence onto these children.
So whether they
They're going to
follow
start
the
getting
same
very weird
group,
places and showing
yeah,
up at girls' rooms at 2 a.m. when they shouldn't be there. Oh, it's going to be hard.
yeah. So whether they follow the same group, you know, 5 or 6 years into the future where they're well into their teens, I don't know. But I do like the idea that they have fleshed out this
Yeah.
universe.
I'd like to see them leave this group of people and then bring them back as cameos in future seasons.
And then start on another group of kids.
Yeah, not even necessarily a group of kids, but like something, and just other stories set within this universe.
Yeah.
And then somehow ties into this original crew in some way. I think that could be awesome. I mean they could go wherever they want. We talked about the trailer for this one, and it's got this real Cthulhu-esque vibe. And if they went down that route, man, there's so many stories that they could draw on to make an awesome series, or
Yeah, I
awesome
agree.
3 or 4 series.
And it's quite funny because this show blew up as big as it did. They actually had to consult the producers of Game of Thrones to see how they deal with the level of security. When they're filming on set, when they're giving out their scripts, because everyone wants to know what's going to happen in this world, and
Yeah.
they've never really dealt with such scrutiny before. So I thought that was kind of cool that they had to go and ask Game of Thrones how they deal with it.
Oh, that's cool. I'm looking forward to the inevitable crossover.
With Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Stranger Things meets Game of Thrones.
Yeah. The dragons versus the demogorgons. That would be
Oh
cool.
man,
That
don't get
was-
me excited.
And now I think your loins just burst.
I think so. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
It's a
I
scroll
did hear that.
down. They go into the upside down, then go through another door, and they're out in Westeros. Oh boy,
Well, the
write that down, someone.
well, the directors of this was supposed to direct. They pitched the idea to direct it, and you can kind of see the similarities with
Yeah.
the boys, and which leads into our next story, which is that the producers of it have come out and said that this movie will be rated R, whether it's a hard R here in Australia or it's probably an MA 15 plus, and they basically said, if you're going to have a movie about a scary clown that's trying to kill kids, you can't really kind of do that in a PGM format. So they're going for that rated R movie, which is really good to hear. That means hopefully they're going to do this thing right. But when it was initially announced, they said it was definitely going to be a two-parter shot back to back. But now they've only shot one film because they're worried that if it doesn't take off, they're going to have to release a second film and blow a lot of cash. So they're going to be hedging their bets and playing it safely and just make one film at a time.
That's poor move. I think you got to have faith, particularly if you're going R. I mean, I assume we can thank Deadpool for that once again. But
I was kind of hoping, that we'd get the first film and then, either 6 to 12 months later, we get the second one. But
yeah,
we're going to have to be waiting, 24 months
which is going
if
to
it
be
is a
yeah.
hit.
And I assume it will go along with the original story. Like the first film would be about the kids, and then the second film would be about the adults.
Correct.
And you can't just leave it at the kids. That's not the complete story.
Yeah, like it's going to finish on a cliffhanger, you would say, to get you excited for the next one. And then if the next one doesn't happen, you just feel ripped off, really. You've
Wasted
invested,
everyone's
yeah,
time.
exactly. You've invested this two and a bit hours for nothing. So
Yeah, look,
I would have preferred them take the risk and do them back to back, and then if the other one was a flop, you could just release it on a streaming service and still get some of your cash back.
although I've got to say though, most of the money probably comes from the actual production, not the distribution. So
Yeah, well,
if they made it, they're probably going to want to get it into cinemas.
yeah, I suppose you're probably right there. And speaking of which, actually, the head of Warner Brothers has come out and said that it's going to be a lot sooner than later that we're going to be seeing these big releases released on streaming services, say 2 weeks after the theatrical release for a premium price, which is awesome because in examples that we've talking about already, say with the Lego Batman film and John Wick, having to wait this bullshit amount of time to watch a film,
Yeah.
I'm happy to pay for it to see it a lot earlier in the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, and as a father with a young child, I just cannot get to the cinema as often as I'd like. If I could sit at home, put her to bed, sit in my chair, and chuck on the latest release, if I have to pay a little bit extra for it, I'm fine with that. It would just be that would make my life basically. That would be the more exciting than the birth of my child. She's done nothing but burden me since she was born.
Lucky she won't hear this until she's 10.
She feels it. She feels the animosity.
But touching on a story that we spoke about last week, we actually have an Australian release date now for John Wick, and I believe it's April 20th. So that's
Just
great.
around the corner.
Yeah, that's great. We get to see it 3 months later. Well done, Village Roadshow. You're really hitting it out of the park. It'll be out on the internet. It'll be out in Blu-ray in America. We'll just buy it for the cheaper price of actually going to the cinema and watching it. So,
So
well done.
just go to the cinema opening weekend and just have the cinema to yourself, guys.
Really clever.
It'll be
Really
a
smart.
nice outing.
Were you a fan of the film Love Actually?
I was a fan of certain storylines in Love Actually.
Yeah, it's one of those films where, it gets a lot of raves reviews and it's, kind of got its own, kind of like a cult following. Everyone just loves this film, but,
It did start a mini genre of like weird ensemble cast romantic films.
yeah, you just throw multiple storylines and then throw a quick through line so they all connect together. Well, if you're a fan of this, you'll be happy to know that the cast and director are actually reuniting for a 10-minute short for the Red Nose Day comic relief, which happens over in the UK.
That's
So
nice.
it will be cool to see, because there's some pretty big names in that cast. You got,
Oh, yeah.
Hugh Grant, you've got Liam Neeson, you've got, you've
Colin
actually
Firth.
got, Colin Firth. You've got Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead, who hasn't done anything but The Walking Dead for the past
Yeah.
6 years. So,
Can I just say though, his storyline is the one that I hate the most out of Love Actually. You remember?
yeah, he's the fucking creepy guy holding up the signs.
Shows up at his best friend's house and like pleads his undying love to his girlfriend,
Just
his
after
wife
they got
rather,
married.
who then kisses him, and then it's like, oh, all hunky dory, it's all good now. No, it's not good. And what if his friend had answered the door and he's just standing with like a love letter to his wife?
I never thought of that, actually.
I hope in this we see in this one that relationship, not Keira Knightley and her husband, but that friendship is just finished because that irks me to this day. They had a great opening where was it Laura Linney? I can't remember. The actress asked the Walking Dead guy if he was in love with his friend, and I'm like, oh, they're going to have a homosexual, longing in this film. That's good, because we hadn't really seen that. But no, it had to be some weird pseudo cheating circumstance. God, it frustrates me because the rest of the film is quite good, but that just drags it right down.
Yeah. No, you do have a really good point there, and especially when they, that they make a big deal of Alan Rickman cheating on his wife, Emma Thompson, in the film.
Yeah.
Like, that part is bad,
And it's
but
brutal.
Andrew Lincoln cheating on, trying to hit on his best mate's girlfriend. Oh, that's romantic.
And
I'm
then
like,
at the end, it's,
yeah, you kind
it's
of, it's a yin yang, but it's still the same.
imagine if he looked like Steve Buscemi. Would we still be having this cutesy kind of story? No, she'd be calling the cops.
I fucking love Steve Buscemi. He is so good.
Me too.
I
And
especially
then at
love
the
him
end,
in all the Adam Sandler films because they actually do kind of pick on what he looks like.
he doesn't care. He's getting
Yeah,
a check at the end of
yeah,
the
that's
day.
right.
But then at the end of the film, all three of them are at the airport, and I'm like, does this guy just hang around with them now? Like, is he the third wheel in this relationship?
No, he is. He's a real fucking creep.
Yeah, it's not good. Anyway,
Did you watch
I'm glad they're getting back together.
Did you watch the TV series Westworld by any chance?
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was really excited to see this news because the standout for me in that show is Tandy Newton. She hits it out of the park in every scene, and she steals every scene that she is.
So for those who don't know
in.
who she is, though, she's the African American prostitute
Yeah, I think her
mother.
name was Marv or Maeve.
Yeah, Maeve.
Yeah, like not only is she the still sinner because in most of the scenes she's actually naked, but she's so good that you actually forget that she's naked. She's just
I stopped looking at her boobs for like 30 seconds.
yeah.
She's such a good actor.
I'm trying to sell this without sounding like a perv, but she was so good in this show. But now she is in talks to join the Han solo film or spin-off film. Who knows who she's going to play? She might be
Yeah.
a relation to Lando. I'm only saying that because obviously they're both black, but there could be the
Because
relationship
there's only
there.
one black person in Star Wars, so if they're
So,
going to
yeah.
introduce them,
Oh,
must be related somehow.
well, in that part of the galaxy, obviously,
Oh, okay,
in the
yeah.
new part of the galaxy, but she would be awesome in this cast. They're already setting up this great franchise already. We've got Phil Lord and Chris Miller who did the Lego Movie. They're directing. We've got Danny Glover, Emilia Clarke, Woody Harrelson already in this film. So to get another awesome actress to join this cast would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
I'm just surprised that for an actor of her caliber, it must be a small part though if they haven't cast it yet.
You would
So
agree, yeah,
it's a
'cause I
boom for
think-
them to get it.
Yeah, because I think they're either starting soon or they've just started production.
Oh yeah, they started like 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, so you would think if she has been introduced, it must be a pretty small part of it.
Yeah, exactly right. But did you see the clapperboard for the first shot?
Yes,
That
very
was released on Twitter, and there was what was it? First shot hand.
yes, it was
I'm
really,
like, you
really
clever.
well. This story got, I know it got you excited. The actor, there was a film back in, it would have had to be in the 90s. Steven Spielberg directed a film called Hook, and it was Robin Williams as an older Peter Pan. Goes back to Neverland to rediscover himself, basically.
Pretty solid film. Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook is friggin' awesome.
Bob Hoskins as Smee.
Yes.
Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell. You can
What a cast.
you can kind of brush off her, but anyway, the leader of the Lost Boys, the character's name was Rufio. Well, he's just started a Kickstarter to. He probably just wants a gig, to be honest. But he started a Kickstarter campaign to have a prequel about the Rufio character.
Which, look, it's going to be a short film, and in all sincerity, I actually think it's another guy has written the film and wants to direct, and I think he's gotten the actor on board. Dante Basco is his name. I don't think he'll be playing young Rufio, given that he looks quite old and he's put on a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
But I think he's just there supporting it, and I think it's a cool idea. I mean, a Rufio prequel.
Yeah, look, all they're
kinda
asking
cool.
for is 30 grand. So
Yeah.
it's not like they're asking for a lot of money. They've got, I think, 5.5 grand at the moment. But
It's up to 13 and a half now.
oh, is it?
Yeah, it's shooting up. I reckon they're going to make it.
Yeah, well, I guess people of our age, the nostalgia feeling for the film that is Hook. You might throw a couple bucks to see that movie.
Yeah. It's called Bangarang, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's a cool title. I do like that. It was pretty clever. Yeah. All right. Well,
So look, I'm excited. I think this is a film that I never would have thought of. It would require a prequel, but I think it could be awesome.
as you said, who knows how this guy fits into it?
Mm.
considering it's supposed to be a prequel and that film is 30 years old. But, who knows? Movie magic, 30 grand can go a lot away.
He might play the character's father.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, I'm a
Yeah.
massive fan of the NFL, and this year the New England Patriots won the Super Bowl. Their Super Bowl, or their superstar quarterback Tom Brady, he was suspended for 4 games at the start of the year. There's only 17 games in the year, so you would have thought that they would have, struggled to make the playoffs at all. But they defied all the odds in the Super Bowl. They were 25 points down. They came back to win, which was the greatest Super Bowl trailing margin of all time, and the greatest comeback of all time, and the first Super Bowl to go to overtime. So now the creators of the film The Finest Hours is going to put together a Tom Brady biopic. Now, in America, Tom Brady is one of the most hated
Yeah.
celebrities of all time.
Well, the most divisive.
If you're not a New England fan or you're not from Boston,
Yeah.
the rest of America hates him.
I don't
So
even follow the NFL, and I'm not American, and I kind of don't like him.
so to make a film where
Yeah.
you've got such a controversial figure, and then expect other fans to come and pay to see this film about the character they hate so much. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it's an incredible story what they've overcome this year, and it will make a hell of a movie. But whether it's going to be a box office success, I don't think so.
Look, they'll get free press, that's for sure, during the making because people will be so incredulous. But in all sincerity, will it be a good movie? Like, what's the most dramatic thing that's happened? The Deflategate scandal.
Yeah, well, that happened 2 years ago, and it happened the year that they played my team, the Seattle Seahawks, in the Super Bowl. So this stings me a little because they shouldn't. If he got suspended this year when it happened 2 years ago, why wasn't he suspended then? But that's another whole kettle of fish. But yeah, he is. They're going to sell it as the great American hero, but as I said, a lot of people just hate his guts. So
Yeah.
whether this film works or not, I honestly don't know.
I,
But
I
either
can't
way,
imagine.
I will be watching it because love or hate him, you got to respect what he's done. If you
You're the problem.
if you
You're
love
the
the
kind of
game
person
as
they
much
don't
as
get
I
there.
do, you got to respect the hell of what the hell he's done, and
Yeah.
his coach Bill Belichick as well. What they've done, and what they've created, could possibly never be done again. So, I love him or hate him, you got to respect him.
Okay, well, look, we'll probably get along to see it if it
Oh,
eventually ever comes out.
well, one man that we both respect and love so much, but kind of hate at the same time because we don't know what direction he's going in. Kevin Smith has come out and said this week that he has written a sequel to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and I actually like the premise of the script. It's basically or he's selling it as a fun flick in which Jay and Silent Bob go back to Hollywood to stop a brand new reboot of the Blunt Man and Chronic movie that they hated so much from the first film. When you think about it, that is actually pretty cool because it is a pretty
Yeah,
it's a pretty good satire on what's happening in Hollywood right now.
yeah, and it's so easy. Like, it's perfect. It's really
Yeah,
great.
the whole redo obsession that is with Hollywood at the moment. For him to go back and make a sequel, which is kind of rebooting a film that he did 20 years ago and a franchise 20 years ago,
It works.
it works really, really well.
I just hope that the reboot in the film is going to be like a dark, gritty take of Blunt Man and Chronic, like like the Nolan films, like very kind of
That would be
realistic.
cool. That would be
Yeah.
really cool. Actually, I like that idea.
Um,
Because it was funny because when he came out and announced to the world that he was doing it, he said that he wanted to get Clerks 3 done, but one of the leads dropped out. He wouldn't say who.
well, I think we know though.
Well, who do you reckon it would be from the Clerks? I think it
It
was
was
Randall.
Yeah, it was Randall because
Yeah,
he's not an actor. He doesn't. Jeff Anderson,
yeah, Jeff
which I
Anderson.
respect that. He doesn't have to do it. I think any time he came back to do it was just as a favor to Kevin.
Yeah.
He's got another life. He never wanted to be an actor, so it's fair enough.
He doesn't own the rights to Mallrats, so he couldn't get that TV show sold, which is really disappointed because all the cast except for Affleck were on board. So that would have been cool to see. So he said, the only one that he had the rights to was that one. So that's the one he's going to go with.
Why not? And look, again, it's not a film I expected a sequel from, but I watched the hell out of it when it first came out.
Yeah,
It's pretty
so did I.
funny.
It was pretty funny. I think it was a good snapshot of, the early 2000s and the type of film that it was. The whole stoner craze was kicking in, and
The most laid back craze
yeah,
of any craze, the stoner craze.
well, you could put a song out there called "I'm So High," I think it was, or "You Want to Get
That's
High."
right, because I got high.
Yeah, because I got high. That
Yep.
song was a massive hit, and it was supposed to be. Well, it is illegal technically, but you got these mainstream um, mediums putting it out there, and it kind of led to where we are now, where a lot of states it's actually becoming
Are you saying
legalized.
Smith is responsible for the marijuana legalization sweep in the United States?
I'm going on that he started the craze. Yes, forget
Cool.
about
I'll go
Cheech
with
and
that.
Chong; those guys were
Yeah,
acts. It's
it's
Kevin
Jane
Smith.
Silent Bob all the
Yeah,
way.
all the way. All right, well, that leads us into our new segment for this show, and we're going to do like a director spotlight. So we thought the man who's inspired this show, let's focus on him first. So we'll both have, a quick say on two of the films of his that we really like the most, and maybe talk about some of the ones we don't like as much. You want to start with yours?
Well, no, you start with yours because it's the oldest one.
All right, well, this is the one that basically started all, and it kind of started it started the whole indie film culture in the 90s, where basically filmmakers were going out, they would make their own films, they would take them to film festivals like Sundance and the Toronto Film Festival, and companies like Miramax would buy these films and then put it out there. So Kevin Smith made this film on credit cards. I think it cost him like $94,000. He wrote the script himself. He shot it in black and white because color was too expensive. Maxed out all his credit cards, made this film, took it to a film festival. He said the first screening had 3 people in it and it was a
Yeah.
disaster. Either way, Miramax ended up buying it. It became a big hit and it put Kevin Smith on the map. And that film was obviously Clerks. Clerks is a great snapshot of what filmmaking was in the 90s. As I said, a lot of independent filmmakers were doing their own thing. They were underneath their own banner so they didn't have to do what the studio told them to do. And it's a really funny movie, to be honest. It's got that real good, dick and fart joke humor that I like. Um, it's very witty.
Yeah.
It's very dirty, and I think it's the only film I've ever got away with where a girl has sex with a dead man in a toilet, and it's actually funny.
Yeah, it was pretty bold putting that on film.
Yeah, so that basically started his craze in the 90s. I think the 90s contained his best work, and then it kind of fell down gradually after that. So to kick it off, Clerks for me, and it was a film that came out when I was studying filmmaking, and I was learning more about how that environment worked, and for a guy to come out, I remember it was Clerks that really blew up, that came from nowhere, and the Blair Witch Project that came from nowhere, and
Yeah.
it was those two films that all the kids in my film school were hanging on to, like, oh, maybe we can do this, and maybe we can have that success.
Let's
Obviously,
go and do a found footage one about these kids who work in a convenience store.
yeah.
with
Well, they say people who can't make movies talk about them, so here I am.
I've seen your home movies, man. I've been there.
30 years later. But yeah, that was the start, and I would say probably his second best film.
I think for me, I wouldn't necessarily say it was second best film. I'm just going to go on to Clerks 2 because it's not my favorite film. I like Clerks more than Clerks 2. But Clerks 2 gets shit on a lot, and I actually think it's a pretty solid film. Did you like it?
Honestly, no, I didn't like it. And it's funny because as much as I love the Clerks, I actually hate the two leads. I actually don't like them at all.
Yeah. Not even Randall?
No, Randall especially. I fucking hate him more than Dante.
No way. No, do not like Dante. But Randall's cool. Didn't you want to be Randall when you were young?
Dante is just this little whiny bitch, and Randall is this self-absorbed, know-it-all, who I don't, what can I say? Like, I think he's written really well, but I don't think the performance is very good, in my opinion.
Okay, well, he's
There's
not
a
an actor.
reason
That's fair
why
enough.
he's not an actor,
Yeah,
that's
but
the
but
reason.
he's Randall brings the drops the knowledge bombs like in both Clerks and Clerks 2. He's the one who gets Dante off his ass doing things.
The only thing I liked about Clerks 2 was Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, she's
She's
fantastic.
awesome in it.
I did not buy that Rosario Dawson wanted to date Brian O'Halloran just quietly. That was the bit that stretched my incredulity just a little bit far. But she nailed it, man. Like she took to that dialogue better than any of the others, and it was her first Kevin Smith film.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was bloody awesome.
Yeah, and that film itself, although it was, although it was okay, it was just. I don't think it was necessary. I think he kind of he told that story in Clerks 1 and he told it really good. And I think he kind of cheapened Clerks by making Clerks 2.
That's yeah. Look, I can dig that. I like Clerks too because for me. It really represents I think Clerks represents who Kevin Smith was, and Clerks 2 kind of represents who he is now. He's a lot lighter, serious. He's just having fun. I mean, look at he had a friggin' dance
Yeah, I
montage
know.
halfway through.
That's the part that irritates me the most out of that film, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like you'd never get that in Clerks 1, obviously, because he didn't have it. But yeah, it's just, I think just Clerks 2 represents we know that Kevin Smith's a nice guy. He's a genuinely warm person, and Clerks 2 just reflects that.
Yeah.
And getting past Rosario Dawson being attracted to Brian Halloran, it just kind of works for me. I just like it. Donkey show or no donkey show.
That's true. I forgot the donkey show. My second. Well, you've actually got my favorite Kevin Smith film, but I'll let you take it. But I would say my third favorite was the follow-up to Clerks, and that was Mallrats. So basically, again, on a brief history of the 90s, once the independent filmmaker blew up, he'd go do a studio film. So Kevin Smith was hot property. He signed, Universal Studios signed him up to make his next film. He goes, we'll make anything you want to make. He goes, all right, I've got this script. And they go, here you go, here's $5 million. So he's jumped from having a film that cost $94,000 to a film that's cost $5 million. And he goes, no, I don't want that big budget. He goes, no, here's your budget. You make your film. So he went out and made Mallrats, and Mallrats is fucking awesome. It's got again, dick and fart jokes all around, but it's actually a pretty it's a self-contained story. It's really funny. It actually has Stan Lee in it. If you can get Stan Lee into a movie, even back in the 90s, it was awesome.
Well, he really started the Stanley cameo craze,
Correct.
didn't he?
It was our type of film. It was about guys who were obsessed with comic books. They were basically like us, just nerds. But cool.
I've got to be
nerds.
honest. I didn't like this movie when I first, for the first few years that I'd seen it. I think I was too young for it, which sounds dumb because I liked Clerks when I saw it, and I saw Clerks before Mallrats.
Well,
But
this is what I was getting at. So they made the film for $5 million. They released it. It was a turd of a flop. It was a massive flop. But then word of mouth started spreading when this film got released on video, and it actually became its own cult following. It actually, made its money back tenfold after it was released on video, and that's, where the legend of Mallrats really took off. He never really went on and made another big studio film. He continued to work for Miramax after that, but there was life after death after the theatrical release for Mallrats, and that's where the movie really took off. And that's where I saw it too.
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah, I saw it well after it had come and gone. I certainly didn't see it in cinemas. I just didn't connect to the characters at first, but like now I appreciate it a lot more. Like I'm down with the schooner joke, kid on the escalator. I like it. Just at the time, it did bring Jason Lee into the Viewer's universe as well. So
Yes.
I always appreciate it for that.
Yeah.
Did you know?
I love
That's
Jason Lee.
Did you know that Seth Green auditioned for the role of Jay in that movie?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Can you
interesting.
imagine?
Yeah.
The more you know.
There's some trivia.
All
Alright,
right, so my number one. Kevin Smith film. I think it's his most mature film still, and it's I think one of Ben Affleck's best films.
Yeah,
Um, is Chasing Amy,
yeah. This
and you
film
said this is
is
one of
thi-
your favorite ones as well.
this is my favorite Kevin Smith film.
It's just miles ahead of all of his other ones as far as just good storytelling, interesting storytelling, and friggin' funny at times too.
Yeah.
But it doesn't rely on the laughs. They add to the opening dramatic story that's playing out before you.
No, it's a film that it really took me by surprise because after you watch Clerks and you watch Mallrats, he followed up with Chasing Amy, and to have that type of film as his third, and as you said, it's the most personal and it's the best written and it's the best piece of storytelling that he's actually done. And I don't know how he's never recaptured that, to be honest. It's a
They
story.
just blew his load.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's a fantastic love story where a guy meets a girl, she's gay, he falls hard for her, they start a relationship, and he can't deal with her sexual past. And he lets that come between them, and he basically loses the love of his life because he can't deal with her sexual past. And it's a really great story because it's something that a lot of people can't deal with. A lot of people go into relations, and then you ask the question, how many people have you been with, and then all of a sudden you get seen in a different light.
Try not
So
to suck any dicks on the way to the car park.
yeah, that's right. So the biggest thing that he gets caught up about is that she had a threesome with two other guys, and he just can't get past that, and he can't get over his head. And
Was it that she had a threesome, or just that she was gay and he wanted to have a threesome because he thought him being in a threesome would be
no, well,
like
he
something
found out that
kooky?
she had the threesome,
Oh, that's
and
right. Yeah,
then
she did. Yep,
he
that's
had
right.
a really strong friendship with Jason Lee's character, who she thought he was in love with Ben Affleck. So for him to try and get everything back in order, and he was jealous, or sorry, Jason Lee's character was jealous that Ben Affleck was spending time with her, and he was jealous of her past relationship. He tries to get them all to have a threesome,
Yes,
and then
very
that's where
clever.
the whole thing blows up. But
Yeah.
I don't think we've done it much justice in the way we've described it. It's a lot better
If you
film
haven't
than the way
seen it,
we've
you've got
described
to
it.
check it out.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's a great piece of filmmaking, and as I said, it's a no frills film. It doesn't look pretty, but the story's there, and it's a hell of a piece of filmmaking.
Yeah, exactly right. And again, little piece of trivia: Casey Affleck, Ben Affleck's, who's now like getting all kinds of awards for you know,
Manchester
props
by the
for
Sea.
Manchester by the Sea, was the little kid that Banky shows in the porno.
Oh, really?
There you go.
Okay, there you go. So
Um,
yeah, just to talk
but yeah,
about some of his other films, like
yeah,
the one he gets shit on the most, and this was when Ben Affleck was huge and he just started dating Jennifer Lopez.
yeah.
They were in a film together, even though she wasn't in it for long. It was called Jersey Girl, and this poor guy copped so much shit for Jersey Girl. It wasn't funny, but
I
the
don't know
movie
how he
itself is
survived.
actually quite good. I really like this. It's got George Carlin in it, and him and Ben Affleck play each other off really well. George Carlin is this fantastic stand-up comedian from the 70s and 80s. Kevin Smith was a massive fan of him, so he put him in this film. And yeah, this movie gets shit on so much, but I actually quite enjoyed it.
I've got to be honest, I've never actually seen it.
I would like your opinion on it if you do get a chance to see it. Another one of him was Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Seth Rogen was blowing up at this stage. He just did shit. What's the film where he gets the girl Knocked Up? He just come off
Yeah.
Knocked Up. Kevin Smith thought, yes, I've got the guy who's he just made two monster hits, the 40-year-old version Knocked Up. Yeah, I've got the guy who's going to blow my box office
Blow my
away.
what? Okay, yep.
Zack and Miri Make a Porno comes out and it flops again. So, and Zack and Miri is actually quite funny. So, if you haven't seen that one as well, give that one a
That
go.
film, yeah,
Yeah,
I have seen that. Yeah, it was. It was pretty funny as well.
yeah, they
I
go
think.
that they both need money. So Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks make a Star Wars. Oh, they're best friends who have got no money, so they decide to make a Star Wars porn parody, which is quite funny. And then of
Yeah,
course they realize their affection and love for each other.
and it's just been really downhill for poor
Correct.
Smith since
It's
then.
been downhill since then. Then he had Cop Out with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan.
I think that really hurt him because Bruce Willis was apparently a right ass on that
Yeah.
film.
Red State, although it was a really different movie for him, it started really well, but I don't think it finished that well. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No.
Then it just got worse from there. Then he made Tusk, which was a man who kidnaps another man and turns him into a walrus. Again.
Yeah.
And
Now he's just
then he made
now he's done
Yoga Hoses.
Yoga Hoses, which is his latest, and it's just I think it's almost like he's daring people to criticize him because he's making very bad films.
Yeah, so as I said, his career started so well, but hasn't finished or hasn't progressed to where he started. Like 30 years on from Chasing Amy, and all the shit and experiences that he would have gone through, now, it's just sad that he can't find that voice that he had, 30 years ago with all the experience that he's got.
Can
now.
I make a bold prediction? Mm-hmm. I think we're in for a Kevin Smith assance. I think he's actually going to come back in the next 5, 6, 7 years. He's doing a lot of television at the moment. He's doing Supergirl and The Flash, and he's loving it. Yeah. And I think it's just a precursor to. I think he's going to find his mojo. I think he's going to, and with this Jay and Silent Bob sequel, I don't think it's going to be a great movie, but I think it's going to bring him back into the mainstream, and from there, I think he could do special things. I think there's still some junk left in Kevin Smith's
Well, let's
junk.
hope so, because I think that the third movie, as part of his Canadian trilogy, is a movie called Moose Jaws, where it's basically Jaws with a moose in Canada. So
is he actually going to make that one though? I know he talks about it.
It's part of that. He calls it the Northwest trilogy. So who knows if he's actually going to make it or not? Yeah. But it doesn't sound that promising.
He could surprise us, but I highly doubt it. But yeah, I'm predicting it right now. Give it less than a decade, and Kevin Smith is going to be not top billed, but just making solid films once again.
All right. Well, he probably says the same stuff about our podcast. He's probably like, "Oh, their early episodes are really good, but now they're just running out of ideas."
No, not K. Smith. He would be so supportive. He'd be like, "Yeah, it's not my bag, but good on him for giving it a go." That's the kind of guy he is.
That is probably the attitude he would have, actually. So we're sorry, KS. We're really sorry.
We love you.
All right, well, that wraps up episode 3 of Not Another Movie podcast. I hope you have enjoyed the show. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And let your week be a good week until